There we go. Hey, YouTube. Hey, TikTok. Hey, IG. Today's topic is, what does business analyst do? Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia from Alicia B Coaches, and I help women with at least 5 years of work experience pivot into technology careers without going back to school or learning how to code. And the reason why I'm looking for women who already have work experience is because you kind of already know how to talk to people. You know how to build relationships, you know how to solve problems. I don't think a tech career is great for someone that has never worked before, right? So that's why I think if you're not going to learn how to code or have a degree in something technical, that you really need to have a solid 5 years of work experience. So that's why I say 5 years of work experience. I focus on women, um, probably because I'm a woman, and considering what the gender equity pay gap is in technology and in other sectors, women are making less money in general. For every $1 a man is making, a woman is making 76 between 76 cents, 78, 79 cents. Um, the other reason is because a lot of women are also doing a lot of the caretaking. So, taking care of the younger people in the household, the older people in her household or other households. And I think women that are doing those dual roles need to have a little more flexibility in terms of their schedule. It was super helpful for me when my kids were younger in elementary and middle school, being able to leave my job at like 2, go pick them up, take them where they need to be, go home, cook dinner, and then log back in and finish the rest of my workday from home. And that was all because I had a career in technology. Um, Now that we're getting that out of the way, let's jump straight in to the topic, which is, what does a business analyst do? So, this is the third part of a 4-part series. The 4-part series is called Off the Cuff. So, I do have notes for off the cuff, um, no code tech jobs. I have notes that cover each topics, and it's actually in a PDF form, and it's a free download on my Patreon site. Link is in the bio. All right, business analyst. So I was a business analyst for 8 years. 8 years is a long time. I had lots of different experiences, but those 8 years were at a company that was doing 100% agile. And this was a very agile focused company in terms of they didn't like keep some teams that were waterfall. Everybody was agile, you know. We all got agile training at the same time. They paid for conferences related to agile. They paid to keep your training up. So basically, once you get a tech cert, whatever organization that's giving it to you, they're trying to keep their dollars, right? So a year after your cert, they're like, hey, we need you to throw us some more money so we can allow you to have access right to the site. Because really, once you get the cert, you want to use the site in order to research different techniques, research like vocabulary, possibly go and get a white paper, get some templates. Um, in order to have access to all that, they basically want you to pay an annual fee. So the company I was working for at the time, they were also supporting the annual fees in order to keep your certs up to date, which is fantastic. They were also a mortgage bank. So, one example of some work that I did, because again, we want to talk about what business analysts do, we're going to do a day in a life. So, an example of some work that I did is someone called and said, okay, AJ, this report that your team manages, the report's not working. So I'm on the phone and I'm like, okay, Can you explain to me what's not working about the report? So, as a business analyst, I'm going to do work intake. So, work intake means I have to ask this person questions in order to kind of figure out what's going on so that I can write it up and then hand that over to my engineers. So, if all you're saying is, oh, the report is broken, I'm going to say, great. What's broken about it? Is it broken because of a display off, our numbers or pictures or icons showing up in the wrong place? Or are the calculated numbers wrong? If you say the calculated numbers are wrong, how do you know? Right? Can you send me a link? I need a printout of what it looked like when it was right and a printout of what it looked like when it was wrong. And again, when did you start noticing it? Today, yesterday, what time of day, right? Because even the time of day could have some bearing on what the fix is. So once I gathered up all that information, I basically created something called a user story. And a user story is just a grouping of notes about a particular topic and the way that we save them and share them between team members on the same team and even share them with team members from other teams. So as I'm writing up my user story, I'm going to explain everything, right, that happened. I'm going to put in there which department they were calling from, who they were, what their role is in the company, and talk about how they're actually using the report. I got to put all that in the user story along with attachments of what the report looked like when it was working and what it started to look like when it was broken, right? So I hand that over to my engineers. I'm like, all right, y'all, go fix it. So basically, what the issue was is once I was talking to them some more, is they have two people on the exact same team with the same first, middle, and last name. So what the report was doing was each time it needed to track how many calls each of these people made, it would go to the first person, right? Write the number of calls, and then it would go back, right? Because now it's seeing a second person with that same first, middle, and last, and now it's going to overwrite what the data was initially. So that instead of seeing two people with the same first, middle, and last names with two different call amounts, there was only one person showing up. And the one person that showed up, the call amount was for one of them, if that makes sense, right? So in working with the engineers explained to me that the report itself, the way it was actually written, is it was written to use the unique identifier of first, middle, and last name. Hey, um, so once, because the report was first, middle, and last name, if you have two people with the same first, middle, and last name, it's going to keep overwriting, right? And you can't say, oh, well, how about you use their social security number, right? Because again, you can't use social security number in an internal system. So at that particular company, all the employee data was behind a firewall so that only engineers with access to work on HR things, only they had access to even see people's social security numbers in the first place, right? So instead of using first, middle, and last name, they had to change the unique identifier to be the employee ID. So once they did that, we reran the report. So again, it's the business analyst job. So that was my job. I had to go back and test it. So I created some test data. I reran the report a few times to see that it was going to print out two different rows for each person that had the same first, middle, and last name. So part of your job as a business analyst is you need to ask the right questions to the people that are giving you the work in the first place, right? I also had to go and follow up with them and say, hey, we are still working on your issue, right? And then after that, I had to explain, okay, we're going to change the report. We're going to change what our unique identifier is. It's going to take my engineers 3 weeks to do it. another 3 days to test it. So you should be able to have a fix in about 3.5 weeks. So the business analyst keeps really, it's the client up to date with what's happening. And then once it got pushed to production, I called them and said, hey, we pushed it to production. Why don't you go ahead and take a look at it? And then in another week and a half to 2 weeks, I followed up. And the follow up is to make sure that the change that we put in is still working, right? So as a business analyst, you write user stories, you do user requirements. So user requirements is just a fancy word of asking them a million and one questions to try to get all the information right. And really to get even more information than you think an engineer would use, because you never really know exactly what it is that they're going to need. So it's better to ask more questions up front and give them everything than to have to keep going back to the person that had the issue. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I forgot, right? Because that gets old. Plus, people are super busy and they're looking at you like, okay, maybe you really don't know what you're doing because you keep asking me all this extra stuff, right? So part of being a good business analyst is knowing how to ask better questions in order to elicit your user requirements. The other things that business analysts do is that they have to run the agile meetings. So the agile meetings are going to be daily stand up, which is like a 15-minute meeting where you're just going over what people are working on just for that day and find out if anyone is blocked. The idea is that it's quick status, right? And then anyone that needs more information or has more questions, they can stay at the end, and then everyone else can get back to what they're doing. Another example of a meeting that a business analyst would run is retro. So retro is done at the end of a 2 or 3 week time period where we had time boxed some of the work. And the retro is just looking back on the work that was done and really thinking through, is there a better way we could have handled it? Did anything go wrong? Let's talk about what went wrong and come up with some ideas on how to make it better. Or if things went great, why did they go so great? Was everyone in a good mood for the whole 2, 3 weeks? Did someone else pitch in, right, and help out extra? Or was there like a senior engineer that was coaching a junior engineer, and then the junior engineer got to do something that was all great? So retro is also a time when you can recognize your team members for good work that they're doing. Another meeting, did retro stand up? Another meeting is refinement, and that's an opportunity for the business analyst to present some of the new work, right? And talk through the engineers. Who can do this work? Like, who on our team can actually do it? Do we have the right equipment to do it? Do we have the right knowledge to do it? So, talking through some of those questions around the work is called refinement. So, the business analyst has to run those meetings, do the user requirements, write user stories, and resolve issues. So sometimes resolving issues could be going to another team and seeking some additional help. So there are times when the background of the engineers on your team aren't right for the work that you need to do. So then you have to go someplace else and try to figure out if you can borrow a team member from another team, right? Either borrowing them, or they would send me to go do research, get information from other teams so that they can focus on coding something else. So, really, the business analyst is someone who has an analytical mind, is good at speaking, good at resolving issues, good at talking to people. And then you teach that person some of the technical aspects. So the way that I learned the technical aspects, I just bribe my coworkers, right? So I asked my engineers, I'm like, look, I really need to know more about data ingestion. So Can you sit with me once a week for a few weeks during lunch or 1 hour in the afternoon? And let's just get on a whiteboard. You give me some high level concepts and let me draw it out on the whiteboard and explain it back to you. So, doing that allowed me to get more technical, but I wasn't getting more technical about anything. I was getting more technical about the technologies that my team was using. And the reason why I needed to be able to do that is because I'm the person that's writing the user stories, right? So if I'm writing the user stories, I need to understand some of the technology that I'm talking about. And the best way for me to do that was working with my engineers with the topics that they were coming up with. All right, let's see if there are any questions. I don't see any questions in any of the chat. um, Anything else? I think that's it. That's it to cover for what BAs do. I'll do a quick summary of how you can connect with me and where I am on social media, and then we'll just wrap up for today. So, again, I have a website. On my website, I do have some articles. If you like reading, I got a couple articles on the website. Then I have my YouTube page. My YouTube page has the replays of any live events that I've done. Give me some time. I'll go back and try to update my YouTube videos to do that time stamping thing. Hey, I'm learning. I'm learning how to do this social media stuff. So I do need to update to put the timestamps and what topics were at the timestamp. But my YouTube does have the live videos. And then I think I have 2 classes on YouTube. Software development lifecycle is a class, and that's out there for you guys to watch. And again, everything on my YouTube is free, totally free content. And then I do have Patreon. Patreon is where I have a free ebook. So my free ebook is called Off the Cuff No Code Tech Jobs. So if you go to my Patreon page and then collections, free content, you'll see Off the Cuff. It's a PDF, it's a free download. It's a summary of all the topics that I talk with on live. So some things that are covered in there are why tech jobs are good for women, why the tech jobs are flexible, what does an agile team do, what does a business analyst do, and then it wraps up with a resources page. And the resources page contains links and websites for you to research more about tech roles. What else is on that resources page? Oh, and then organizations. So some of the organizations offer certs, some organizations offer even in-person meetings. So the resources page is great. And again, that's a free download. Other than that, I also have 2 memberships on my Patreon. There's a basic membership and an advanced membership. So the basic membership is really for anyone who wants to transition into a tech career. And it starts with what is agile. We go into more depth of what a business analyst does. And then I also teach you how to use agile project management software. So the software is basically how you keep the code together and how you keep the directions and the user stories linked to the tests and the code. Those are the things that we will cover in the basic membership. So it's a monthly fee, and with the monthly fee, there are a few videos, but mostly just live events with me explaining things, walking you through it. And then at the end, we talk through preparing for the interview. Like, what are the interview questions going to be like? What are the recruiters looking for a brand new business analyst? And then for the advanced, we go into, okay, you already have the BA role. Now let's talk about how you're going to excel in the BA role to prep you for your next role. So advanced topics are going to be managing the backlog, running PI planning, right? how to resolve inter team conflict, how to talk to your manager. So again, advanced level things, and that too is group. So live events, group classes, and then finally, if you'd like to work with me one on one, I do offer different blocks of time. So basically, it's 90 minutes. Whatever you want to work on in a 90-minute time frame, it's me, you, my laptop, and Zoom, and we just work one on one. So thanks for your time. Hope the video was helpful. And I'm looking forward to the next time I get to chat with everyone on live. So again, it's Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Central, Saturdays, 9 a.m. Central. Thanks, friends.